Abdul Kubazun Tafalutek, Wadanabek, Mahu, Hadis, Aishik, Inakalu, Anuki Fiena Aishik Shikalu, Wakul Aishikalu, Naata Kuna Pikalu, Anuki Feragun Shikalu, Wakalukalu Feragun Shuni, Anuki Wahid Kakalu, Wakalukalu Wahid Mani, Nik Aikilu, Enji, Kanaka the Gunchukalu, Hukama Failu, Nik Aikilu, Ahuenu, Kudi, Nuka Fizikalu, Kanaka Wukamata Fazi Kalundia, Amidu Fikalu. Anuki Kaba Hawa hit, Kalu Kalu Nanuki, Kalu Yaku, Aikilu, Kalu Babu, Nikatni. Begin our prayers, thinkings, and deeds with who, divine love and all. I am in the love of all, and all love is me. We are all in all. I am a part of all, and all is a part of me. I am one with all, and all is one with me. I could succeed as a part of all and fail as an individual. I can be all I wish in all, as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is I am. All can I can. All does I do. Who am I?
Who am I?
Well, family, we got another sacred wisdom of Tehuti this shadow hour with Nuntigi Core of the House of Ru.
Mana. We're going to be continuing on page 213. But the student soon finds that this is not all they find within their inner consciousness. They find that there exists a mental something which is able to will that the me or me act along certain creative lines, and which is also able to stand aside and witness the mental creation. This part of themselves they are taught to call is Nuk, I. They are able to rest in its consciousness of an ability to generate and actively create. In the sense of the gradual process attendant upon mental operations, but rather a sense and consciousness of an ability to project an energy from the I to the me to the myself. A process of willing that the mental creation begin and proceed. They also find that the Nuk, I, is able to stand aside and witness the operations of the Ni, me, and Nasufi, myself, creation and generation. There is this dual and triad aspects in the mind of every person. The I represents the God doctrine of mental gender. The me represents the student doctrine, and the myself represents the servant. The I represents the aspect of being, the me, the aspect of becoming, and myself, the aspect of cooperation. You will notice that the doctrine of correspondence operates on this plane just as it does upon the great plane upon which the creation of universes is performed. The three are similar in kind, although vastly different in degree. As above, so below. As below, so above, and that which is in between. These aspects of mind, the God and student doctrines, the I and the me, and the myself, considered in connection with the well-known mental and psychic phenomena, give the master key to these dimly known regions of mental operation and manifestation. The doctrine of mental gender gives the truth underlying the whole field of the phenomena of mental influence, etc. The tendency of the student doctrine is always in the direction of receiving impressions, while the tendency of the God doctrine is always in the direction of giving out or expressing, and in the direction of myself is always serving. The student doctrine has a much more varied field of operation than has the God doctrine. The student doctrine conducts the work of generating new thoughts, concepts, ideas, including the work of the imagination. The God doctrine contents itself with the work of the will, and it is in its varied phases. And yet without the active aid of the will of the God doctrine, the student doctrine and the servant doctrine is apt to rest content with generating mental images which are the result of impressions received from outside instead of producing original mental creations. Persons who can give continued attention and thought to a subject actively employ both of the mental doctrine. The student in the work of active mental generation, and the God will in stimulating and energizing the creative portion, and the servant utilizing the mind. The majority of persons really employ the God doctrine, but little are content to live according to the thoughts and ideas instilled into the me or myself from the I of other minds. But it is not our purpose to dwell upon this phase of the subject, which may be studied from any good textbook upon psychology, with the key that we have given you regarding mental gender. The student of psychic phenomena is aware of the wonderful phenomena classified under the head of telepathy, thought transference, mental influence, suggestion, hypnotism, etc. The four higher senses: 1. Telepathy, 2. Intuition, 3. Psychometry, and 4. Clairvoyance. Many have sought for an explanation of these varied phases of phenomena under the theories of the various dual mind teachers, and in a measure they are right, for there is clearly a manifestation of two distinct phases of mental activity. But if such students will consider these triad minds and the knowledge of the Egyptian teachings regarding vibrations and mental gender, they will see that the long sought for key is at hand. In the phenomena of telepathy, it is seen how the vibratory energy of the God doctrine is projected toward the student doctrine of another person, and the latter takes the seed thought and allows it to develop into maturity. In the same way, suggestion and hypnotism operates. The God doctrine of the person giving the suggestions directs a stream of vibratory energy or willpower toward the student doctrine of the other person, and the latter, accepting it, makes it its own and acts and thinks accordingly. An idea thus lodged in the mind of another person grows and develops, and in time is regarded as the rightful mental offspring of the individual, whereas it is in reality like the cuckoo egg placed in the sparrow's nest, where it destroys the rightful offspring and makes itself at home. The normal method is for the God and student doctrine in a person's mind to coordinate and act harmoniously in conjunction with each other. But, unfortunately, the God doctrine in the average person is too lazy to act. The display of willpower is too slight, and the consequence is that such persons are ruled almost entirely by the minds and wills of other persons, whom they allow to do their thinking and willing for them. How few original thoughts or original actions are performed by the average person, which is what makes them a created thing. Are not the majority of persons mere shadows and echoes of others having stronger wills or minds than themselves? The trouble is that the average person dwells almost altogether in their me consciousness and does not realize that they have such a thing as an I. They are polarized in their student doctrine of mind and the God doctrine, in which is lodged the will, is allowed to remain inactive and not employed. The strong men and women of the world invariably infest the God doctrine of will, and their strength depends materially upon this fact. Instead of living upon the impressions made upon their minds by others, they dominate their own minds by their will, obtaining the kind of mental images desired, and moreover, dominate the minds of others likewise in the same manner. Look at the strong people, how they manage to implant their seed thoughts in the minds of the masses of the people, thus causing the latter to think thoughts in accordance with the desires and wills of the strong individuals. This is why the masses of people are such sheep-like creatures, never originating an idea of their own, nor using their own powers of mental activity. The manifestation of mental gender may be noticed all around us in everyday life. The magnetic persons are those who are able to use the God doctrine in a way of impressing their ideas upon others. The actor who makes people weep or cry as they will is employing this doctrine, and so is the successful orator, statesman, teacher, writer, or other people who are before the public attention. The peculiar influence exerted by some people over others is due to the manifestation of mental gender, along the vibratorial lines above indicated. And this doctrine is the secret of personal magnetism, personal influence, fascination, etc., as well as the phenomena generally grouped under the name of hypnotism. The student who has familiarized themselves with the phenomena generally spoken of as psychic will have discovered the important part played in the said phenomena by that force which science has styled suggestion, by which term is meant the process or method whereby an idea is transferred to or impressed upon the mind of another, causing the second mind to act in accordance therewith. A correct understanding of suggestion is necessary in order to intelligently comprehend the varied physical phenomena which suggestion underlies. But still more is a knowledge of vibration and mental gender necessary for the student of suggestion. For the whole doctrine of suggestion depends upon the doctrine of mental gender and vibration. It is customary for the writers and teachers of suggestion to explain that it is the objective or voluntary mind which make the mental impression or suggestion upon the subjective or involuntary mind. But they do not describe the process or give us any analogy in nature whereby we may more readily comprehend the idea. But if you will think of the matter in the light of the Egyptian teachings, you will be able to see that the energizing of the student doctrine by the vibratory energy of the God doctrine is in accordance to the universal laws of nature, and that the natural world affords countless analogies whereby the doctrine may be understood. In fact, the Egyptian teachings show that the very creation of the universe follows the same law, and that in all creative manifestations upon the planes of the spiritual, the mental, and the physical, there is always in operation this doctrine of gender, this manifestation of the God and the student doctrines. As above, so below. As below, so above. And more than this, when the doctrine of mental gender is once grasped and understood, the varied phenomena of psychology at once becomes capable of intelligent classification and study, instead of being very much in the blinding light of ignorance. The doctrine words out in practice because it is based upon the immutable universal laws of life. The student may acquaint themselves with these matters, and by using the knowledge of mental gender, they will be able to bring order out of the chaos of conflicting knowledge and teachings, and may, moreover, readily make themselves a master of the subject if they be so inclined. The purpose of this work is not to give an extended account of psychic phenomena, but rather to give to the student a master key whereby they may unlock the many doors leading into the parts of the pyramids of right knowledge, which they may wish to explore in the ancient Egyptian order. I feel that in this consideration of the teachings of Tehuti, Thoth, one may find an explanation which will serve to clear away many perplexing difficulties, a key that will unlock many doors. What is the use of going into detail regarding any of the many features of psychic phenomena and mental science, provided we place in the hands of the student the means whereby many acquaint themselves fully regarding any phase of the subject which may interest them? With the aid of the Egyptian order, one may go through an occult library anew, the old blinding light from each religion. That is the purpose of this book, to set the record of Tehuti straight, as it has been tampered with by the Hyksos, Canaanites, when in Egypt. I do not come expounding a new philosophy, but rather furnishing the outlines of a great world-old teaching which will make clear the teaching of others, which will serve as a great reconciler of differing theories and opposing doctrines. Was, or was, crook, guidance, Chapter 17, Egyptian axioms. The possession of right knowledge, unless accompanied by a manifestation and expression in action, as right wisdom and right understanding, is like the hoarding of precious metals, a vain and foolish thing. Right knowledge, like wealth, is intended for use. The law of use is universal, and he and or she who violates it suffers by reason of their conflict with natural forces. The Egyptian teachings, while always having been kept securely locked up in the minds of the fortunate possessors thereof, who knew to keep the best, kept secrets, kept sacred, for reasons which we have already stated, were never intended to be merely stored away and secreted, but used and applied. The law of use is dwelt upon in the teachings, as you may see by reference to the above quotation from the Tehuti teachings, which states it forcibly. Right knowledge without use and expression is a vain thing, bringing no good to its possessor, or to the Nuwapian. Beware of mental miserliness, and express into action that which you have learned. Study the axioms and aphorisms, but practice them also. We give below some of the more important Egyptian axioms from the Egyptian teachings, with a few comments added to each. Make these your own and practice and use them, for they are not really your own until you have used them. To change your mood or mental state, change your vibration. One may change their mental vibrations by an effort of will, in the direction of deliberately fixing the attention upon a more desirable state. Will directs the attention, and attention changes the vibration. Cultivate the art of attention by means of the will, and you have solved the secret of the mastery of moods and mental states. To destroy an undesirable rate of mental vibration, put into operation the doctrine of polarity and concentrate upon the opposite pole to which you desire to suppress, keeping in mind they have the same root. Kill out the undesirable by changing its polarity. This is one of the most important of the Egyptian formulas. It is based upon true scientific doctrines. I have shown you that a mental state and its opposite were merely the two poles of one thing, and that by mental transmutation, the polarity might be reversed. This doctrine is known to modern psychologists, who apply it to the breaking up of undesirable habits by bidding their students concentrate upon the opposite quality. If you are possessed by fear, do not waste time trying to kill out fear, but instead cultivate the quality of courage, and the fear will disappear. Some writers have expressed this idea most forcibly by using the illustration of the bright light. You do not have to block out or cover up the brightness, but by merely switching off the light switch and letting your eye adjust to the pure darkness, the evil blinding light has disappeared. To kill out a negative quality, concentrate upon the positive pole of the same quality, and the vibrations will gradually change from negative to positive, until finally you will become polarized on the positive pole instead of the negative. The reverse is also true, as many have found out to their sorrow when they have allowed themselves to vibrate too constantly on the negative pole of things. By changing your polarity, you may master your moods, change your mental states, remake your disposition, and build up character. Much of the mental mastery of the advanced Egyptians is due to this application of polarity, which is one of the important aspects of mental transmutation. Remember the Egyptian axiom, quote previously. Mind, as well as metals and elements, may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. The mastery of polarization as the mastery of the fundamental doctrine of mental transmutation or mental alchemy. For unless one acquires the art of changing his or her own polarity, they will be unable to affect their environment. An overstanding of this doctrine will enable one to change their own polarity as well as that of others, if they will but devote the time, care, study, and practice necessary to master the art. The doctrine is true, but the results obtained depend upon the persistent patience and practice of the student. Rhythm may be neutralized by an application of the art of polarization. As I have explained in previous chapters, the Egyptians hold that the doctrine of rhythm manifests on the mental plane as well as on the physical plane, and that the bewildering succession of moods, feelings, emotions, and other mental states are due to the backward and forward swing of the mental pendulum, which carries us from one extreme feeling to the other. The Egyptians also teach that the law of neutralization enables one, to a great extent, to overcome the operation of rhythm and consciousness. As we have explained, there is a higher plane of consciousness as well as the ordinary lower plane, and the master, by rising mentally to the higher plane, causes the swing of the mental pendulum to manifest on the lower plane, and they, dwelling on their higher plane, escapes the consciousness of the swing backward. This is affected by polarizing on the higher self and thus raising the mental vibrations of the ego above those of the ordinary plane of consciousness. It is akin to pass beneath you. The advanced Egyptians polarizes themselves at the positive pole of their being, the I am pole rather than the pole of personality, and by refusing and denying the operation of rhythm, raises themselves above its plane of consciousness, and standing firm in their statement of being, they allow the pendulum to swing back on the lower plane without changing their polarity. This is accomplished by all individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery, whether they overstand the law or not. Such persons simply refuse to allow themselves to be swung back by the pendulum of mood and emotion, and by steadfastly affirming the superiority, they remain polarized on the positive pole. The master, of course, attains a far greater degree of proficiency because they overstand the law which they are overcoming by a higher law. And by the use of their will, they attain a degree of poise and mental steadfastness almost impossible of knowledge on the part of those who allow themselves to be swung backward and forward by the mental pendulum of moods and feelings. Remember always, however, that you do not really destroy the doctrine of rhythm, for that is indestructible. You simply overcome one law by counterbalancing it with another, and thus maintain an equilibrium. The laws of balance and counterbalance are in operation on the mental as well as on the physical planes, and an overstanding of these laws enables one to seem to overthrow laws, whereas they are merely exerting a counterbalance. Nothing escapes the doctrine of cause and effect, but there are many planes of causation, and one may use the laws of the highest to overcome the laws of the lower. By an overstanding of the practice of polarization, the Egyptians rise to a higher plane of causation and thus counterbalance the laws of the lower planes of causation. By rising above the plane of ordinary causes, they become themselves, in a degree, causes instead of being merely caused. By being able to master their own moods and feelings, and by being able to neutralize rhythm, as we have already explained, they are able to escape a great part of the operations of cause and effect on the ordinary plane. The masses of people are carried along, obedient to their environment, the wills and desires of others stronger than themselves, the effects of inherited tendencies, the suggestions of those about them, and other outward causes which tend to move them about on the chessboard of life like mere pawns. By rising above these influencing causes, the advanced Egyptian seek a higher plane of mental action, and by dominating their moods, emotions, impulses, and feelings, they create for themselves new characters, qualities, and powers by which they overcome their ordinary environment and thus become practically players instead of mere pawns. Such people help to play the game of life overstandingly, instead of being moved about this way and that way by stronger influences, powers, and wills. They use the doctrine of cause and effect instead of being used by it. Of course, even the highest are subject to the doctrine as it manifests on the higher planes, but on the lower planes of activity, they are masters instead of slaves. As Tehuti says, the wise ones serve on the higher, but rule on the lower. They obey the laws coming from above them, but on their own plane, and those below them. They rule and give orders. And yet, in so doing, they form a part of the doctrine instead of opposing it. The wise person falls in with the law, and by overstanding its movements, they operate it instead of being its blind slave. Just as does the skilled swimmer turn this way and that way, going and coming as they will, instead of being as the log which is carried here and there. So is the wise human being as compared to the ordinary mortal, and yet both swimmer and log, wise mortal and fool, are subject to law. He who overstands this will be on the road to mastery. In conclusion, let us again call your attention to the Egyptian axiom. True Egyptian transmutation is a mental art. In the above axiom, the Egyptians teach that the great work of influencing one's environment is accomplished by mental power. The universe being wholly mental, it follows that it may be ruled only by mentality. And in this truth, it is to be found an explanation of all the phenomena and manifestations of the various mental powers, which are attracting so much attention and study in these earlier years of the 21st century. Back of and over the teachings of the various cults and schools remains ever constant the doctrine of the mental substance of the universe. If the universe be mental in its substantial nature, then it follows that mental transmutation must change the conditions and phenomena of the universe. If the universe is mental, then mind must be the higher power affecting its phenomena. If this be overstood, then all the so-called miracles and wonder workings are seen plainly for what they are. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Is it not only mental? Then what is it? And that is the big question with a small answer. It's not merely mental, it's all.
Oh, anybody got anything they want to add on? You see we're at the end of it. Let's talk, family. Who are? Questions, comments, concerns, anything.
Who are listening to that the part about find that means of not allowing yourself to be pulled into energy, or even pulling yourself out of a mental state. It really made me think about like that ability to, when you're around a lot of chaotic or stuff, you know how to just like keep your cool and deal with it, but don't let it like consume you. And it's like, I think that's a challenge for a lot of people to not get sucked in to another person's energy. And it's weird because it helped me like working where I'm working. One of the things that one of my co-workers was mentioning, how she was like, basically, because we got patients come in with different story, different backgrounds and stuff, and a lot of it be like insurance issues. And we may, like, the patient may ask a question and we may answer it based on our experiences or our what we're going through and our personal stuff. And she was like, basically, don't project your reality on another person, because you don't really know how they're able to function in a like say for instance, if we don't take the patient's insurance, and we'll be like, okay, well, we'll just go somewhere that, but it's just like, don't think for that patient, just let them, just give them the facts and let them make that decision based on their reality. Like, because some patients may not have we may not accept their insurance, but they want the service that bad, they'll go find the cash and pay the cash money for it. Where, so it's like, it just shows you how to like learn your vibration or your
Right.
way of thinking, and how and just kind of be like, you know, work with people, I guess, or work with it, or care, I guess. Yeah, that's more of a better word. Have a care, a genuine care, but don't allow it to consume you to where you projecting how you would react and onto this other person, and really it's not that person's reality. They can come up with it and with no problem, you know, regardless to insurance or not. So it's like listening to that kind of made me reflect on that, as far as being able to like, just, I don't want to say like go with the flow, but able to modify, or, you know what I mean, just adjust or transmute when necessary, to where you don't, like, you're never limiting yourself. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It shows that you never really limit yourself, especially from an outside influence. You know, you just, yeah, cool.
Sure, tell her. You know, it all deals with, again, you read that part that says that the God part of many people, the godly aspect of them, is pretty much lazy, and or they're too lazy to use that particular God aspect, that power will, to actually, you know, make things manifest for them, or the willpower to block off negative thoughts, ideas, or anything, you know, negative situations and habits. It starts with you getting to know you, knowing yourself, and putting yourself through those particular, you know, reprogramming yourself, you know, for the better. Who? Tawad. Anybody else want to add on?
Who? I caught in there when the sister was reading, and it said to study Axioms, AXIOMS, and I placed it. I looked it up and I put it in a Telegram. And what is it?
The axioms.
Apoioism. Yeah, axioms and apoioism. So I already did the research. If anybody want to check it out, it's already in there. It's PDF too. Whoa. So you can download it.
So can I be heard?
Sure, you can be heard.
Okay. So the part where I'm still thinking about is the part where it was like getting out of the me and stepping into the I, right? And I don't know if I got it. I don't know if I understood it correctly, but like once I heard that, it's like, okay. Then I remember us talking about that me, myself, and I part, right? So it's like to step out of the me and step into the I first, and then like you have to go into the myself. You know, that part where you go into yourself, myself, to figure out who is the I. You know what I'm saying? So like, and once you figure out who's the I's always been within you. You know what I'm saying? But you've been suppressing it for the me. And the way I understood it is like the me wants all the physical, all the material, all the, you know what I'm saying? All the things that, you know, I don't know if I was understood the right way, but yeah. But then when I started thinking about the I, you know, it's like being a butterfly, right? Or being a caterpillar, right? Going into that cocoon myself, right? Going to that cocoon. And then the I is a butterfly, you know what I'm saying? It's always knowing what you are or what I am, you know what I'm saying? But it takes time, you know? So when I heard that, I'm like, damn, you know what I'm saying? It really hit me differently, you know what I'm saying? Because in a sense, it's like, I don't want to self-project and say or say anything about anybody, but it's like, I know what I have to do, and that's like, go within myself, right? But then the me is always fighting. Even today, the me was fighting to do the attack. It's like, no, you ain't got to do it, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know what I'm saying, the all is still there even if you don't do it. Like, I'm making excuses in my mind. You see what I'm saying? Why I shouldn't do certain things. But the I know, you know what I'm saying? The I knows better. So just when I heard that, it's like, yeah, to wrap it up, when I heard that, it's like, man, it just made me really, really, really think, and not overthink, but think and know that the I's always been within me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to judge myself. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Towel hat. Everybody else? Anybody else want to say anything? What they got? Towel hat.
One more. It's like I really wanted to kind of. It's like when you look at the order of how the doctrines were explained, it kind of puts you in the mind of what we were reading the other day about that manifestation from the immaterial to the physical. Is like it starts with mental, then it goes, in the different doctrines kind of shows that pathway or that road, I guess, to becoming, and it also goes the opposite way, like how it was in that diagram from the scroll we read yesterday. So it's just like you think about it, it just like brings it into I guess full circle, if you will. Just looking at it in that aspect of how the doctrines are real and how they actually how you kind of
help you in your journey, right?
Yeah. Like it starts with a thought, and that thought has a rhythm, a polarity, and it has a vibration, it has you know what I mean, and then it's like the next thing you know, it's alive somehow. Whether it's here, it's real.
Mm-hmm. Tua. Tower hat.
Can I ask you to what she just said? What she just said just sparked something in my mind. Like, remember when Pop said you have never had a creative thought, but you see but with that is with all those things, with all these new thought, with all these new, how can I say it? With this new conversation presents new thought. You know what I'm saying? And the vibrations begin formulating the new creative thought. You know what I'm saying? And without this information, or without Ibri, or without you, or without you guys presenting information, it wouldn't present this creative thought. So in a sense, you have never had a creative thought until you heard. Does that make sense or not?
Until you heard the truth, right?
Right. Yeah. Tie up.
That's true. But we all are creative. If we all take time, to be still, you know what I mean? Meditation is very important, you know what I mean? For you to even get to the point of creating, being able to create things or originate things, manifest things. Cool.
Sakim Nasuk, right?
Tua. Tayo, all right, family. We're gonna end this early, this shadow hour, since the scroll end early. Give people time to do what they got to do and ponder on it. Hopefully, everybody's doing their meditation. Everything that we're doing, everything that's going towards your health. Start on that journey. Welcome the heart. Welcome it. You know what I mean? You might feel that it's hard to go through these type of disciplines for your soul's sake, your mental state sake, your health sake. All of these work in harmony with one another. So with that, we're gonna end this with the all affirmation. Tawahat. Hua.
Abdul Kul Bazun Tafilatek. Wadanabe, Mahu, Hadis, Aishu, Inakalu. Anuki Fiena Aishu Shukalu, Wakul Aishukaluni. Na Ata Kuna Pikalu. Anuki Feragun Shukalu, Wakalukalu Feragun Shuni. Anuki Wahid Kakalu, Wakalukalu Wahid Mahali. Nuk Aikilu, NGU, Kama Feragun Shukalu, Wakukama Feidu. Nuk Aikilu, Ahuenu, Kudik Nuka Fizikalu. Kama Atawukamaka Fazi Kalunde, Amidu Fikalu. Anuki Kaba Hawa Hood, Kalu Kalu Nanuki. Kalu Yaku, Nuk Aikilu, Kalu Bamu, Nukatni. Begin all prayers, thinkings, and deeds with who? Divine love and all. I am in the love of all and all others me. We are all in all. I am a part of all and all is a part of me. I am one with all and all is one with me. I could succeed as a part of all and fail as an individual. I can be all I wish in all as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is I am. All can I can. All does I do. Who am I?
Hua, Huamana, Osrai, Wanafir Ushad.
Feel shy.
Myth, appear in the chat.
I did.
Kawun Fiend Wu. Very sharp. Right.